So we were talking about confidence and about dealing with pressure, right? And
Yeah.
in the corporate world, it's not as specific and hard to measure, but in your case, with competitions and sports, it's much more tangible on one side and not on the other side, right? So
Yeah.
do you want to explain a little bit how does it work?
Yeah, so I think there's similar problems between corporate and elite sports. You can see, there's a lot of pressure. Both athletes and employees are under a lot of pressure. I think a classical topic that I get is, you know, the athlete is doing well in training or in practice, but when he goes to competition, you add one layer of, or a big layer of pressure, and he or she is no longer performing as well. And I think it's difficult for people to understand that these days we have access to psychotechnologies that, if they're developed enough, which I believe the method we use is very developed, we can actually act almost like surgeons when even that though we are dealing with the inner side of the athlete and how he responds to the environment and pressure, etc., we know that there are some dimensions that are very important and they're being affected by the atmosphere, etc., right? By the coach, by the peers, and when we know where to go, we can become much more almost like surgeons, that we don't have to destroy a lot of terrain to produce some type of result. We'll go straight to where it needs some work, and we manage to produce a valuable transformation.
Yeah.
Now, you can see that when you're dealing with, for example, training, physical training, the physical loads, here it's tangible. And that's why for people, it's easier to relate to that because it's tangible. So I know exactly how many kilometers I swam. I know exactly the time I swam them. It's different from, I don't really know how to deal with this thing that whenever I go to competition, I get intimidated, I get scared, I get insecure, I get nervous, I tense up, right? And so, like, I could give you an example, of how to develop more confidence in an athlete who's having this struggle from moving in from training to competition. Which, one could be simply just noticing what happens, both in practice, what's like the mental narrative that he goes through, and then what changes in that narrative when they go into competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like taking that step back to see what's going on inside your head when you're.
Yeah. I call it normally turning the camera into you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And is there any common practice that you use for those athletes?
So practices vary normally. They're similar, but they're nuanced. They'll have some nuance from athlete to athlete. But like I was saying, one of them is you can notice the narrative. You can notice emotionally how you feel in the two different contexts. And then you can start by, doing some either breathing exercises to manage physiologically what's happening. You can eventually, if it's important, you can speak or share with people that you trust what's going on for you. I think this is really important because many athletes tend to be just closed on themselves and they don't speak. So when I give them practices of sharing how I'm feeling, they're so simple, and it's quite impressive the impact they have when in 2 weeks' time they come back and they say, just by sharing that, I felt a massive relief. I felt that I was understood, and I just took a weight off my shoulders. And other practices can be, you can visualize yourself being confident, you can, you
What
know,
about body practices? Because for athletes, I guess movement is important when you design practices, or not so much?
I, I wouldn't, yeah, so I would say that would be picking up on the fact that they move, that they use their physical bodies for movements and performance, uh, equating that to, oh, then they must need some body practices, or they are, because they do a lot of things, exercises with their body, then they must be deeply, profoundly connected with their bodies. It's not the case.
Mm.
No, it's not the case whatsoever. So they can be super top athletes, world champion, cannot feel his body, neck down.
So like
On the first
self-awareness.
session, like,
The self-awareness is
yeah, so another practice would be, feeling more of the body during the tense moments and then picking up,
Mhm.
clues on those moments and building from there. So you do body mind awareness
Really.
or unfolding of capabilities. So, okay.